After my live stream discussing my undergraduate science education, I thought that it would be worthwhile to shoot a short video discussing two important principles, uh, and those are those of transcription and translation. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. First of all, please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Also, if you want to make a donation to the channel, I will leave my Cash App and my PayPal in the description box below. Shortly, not long ago, I recorded a live stream, or I shot a live stream, or I did a broadcast discussing my undergraduate science education, part of which was at the SUNY College at Brockport in upstate New York, and then the majority of it was at my HBCU, Johnson C. Smith University. In that video, I talked about the professors there, their mentoring, and their significant, or should I say, their major contributions to my scientific journey, and how that helped me get to the University of Michigan for graduate school. But afterwards, I thought about something else that I always think about when I think about my undergraduate science education, and that is the principles of transcription and translation, as in the context of how cells work and what happens inside cells of all kinds. I've shown images of transcription and translation on this channel before, but I've never talked about them, in detail. For those of us in the science community and those of us who are in the biological sciences, this is nothing new, but I thought this would be a fun video to shoot for everyone, but also for the non-science people and for the lay people. So I'm going to do a quick discussion of transcription and translation. So what I meant to say was that I'm going to give a short discussion of transcription and translation. When you're shooting videos sometimes and you're ad-libbing it, you think, okay, I could have said this better, or I could have said this more effectively. But let's jump in. I don't want to make this too long. So basically, you have two biological processes which are taking place in all of our cells, and which arguably is the basis for everything living, whether you're talking about plant cells or animal cells or prokaryotes. So you have prokaryotes and eukaryotes, but that's a different discussion. So transcription starts with DNA. We know that we have DNA in our nuclei in each of our cells, and I believe also in our mitochondria, which are our cells' powerhouses as they generate ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. In any case, transcription, what you're basically doing is you're taking this DNA template and you're creating a strand of RNA to go out into the cytoplasm, or the cytosol. If you recall, DNA exists as a double helix with a major groove and a minor groove, and you have complementary base pairs in the interior of this double helix. DNA, we know that the backbone is made up of phosphate groups and sugars, and the base pairs are either adenine, thymine, cytosine, or guanine. And so the adenine and the thymine pair up, and the cytosine and the guanine pair up as well. And we know that the RNA is a single strand, You have messenger RNA, transfer RNA, and ribosomal RNA. I'm not going to get into too much detail about that, but what happens is you transcribe that RNA strand that goes into the cytoplasm or the cytosol to the ribosome, and that's where you have your protein structures and strands created. And as I described in some of my earlier content, proteins are the workhorses of the cells, and those can do any number of things. And I will discuss that in this last section of this video. So that's transcription. So in terms of translation, that refers to the creation of the proteins within the cell. This is my trusty animal cell. I haven't shown this guy on camera in quite some time, but as I described in earlier content, proteins are what I consider to be the workhorses of the cell. They can be enzymes, they can be receptors, they can be channels, and they can be structural molecules as well. So every biological process in our bodies and our pets' bodies, or any mammal or organism, whether it's an avian or a reptile or a fish of some sort, everything we know and we see in nature that's living, they have DNA, and their cells are creating proteins to carry out their biological processes. Now, there are specific cell types depending upon which tissue those cells are in, and those cells may be creating hormones, they may be creating proteases, they may be catalyzing reactions and creating neurotransmitters and those kinds of things. So it depends on the cell type, and it depends on the tissue and the organ system or the structure that that cell type is in. But again, when you're talking about translation, you're talking about creating proteins to carry out the biological processes in your body. And those proteins are also targets for drugs, as I've described in some of my content, and they're targets for toxicants as well. And so, for the most part on this channel, aside from my couple of videos and uploads on aerospace and cybersecurity, I've talked about the biomedical sciences and the biological sciences. And I've talked about those from the perspective of drugs and pharmaceuticals and toxicology. But this also applies to the plant world as well. And very shortly on this channel, I'm planning to start some discussions on the agrosciences and botany. I'm planning to partner up with another individual who is passionate about those areas. And just as with human health and with animal cells, when you're talking about plant cells and agriculture, you're also talking about transcription and translation as well. So look out for those. Look out for those. And so I want to acknowledge one professor in particular at Johnson C. Smith University who I really remember hammering these two principles home: transcription and translation. The late Dr. Joseph Vail, who was a mentor and who really cared about the students and cared about how we all did. I think pretty much these principles came through in our other classes, whether it was zoology or biochemistry or principles of modern cellular biology. But I vividly remember Dr. Vail, who was a botanist and a plant enthusiast. I really remember him hammering home the principles of transcription and translation. So that's all I wanted to say on these two principles. In my graduate studies, I learned a lot about degradation, and when your cells produce proteins and enzymes and structures, they're also needs to be a mechanism for cleaning those up and disposing of them. And our cells have mechanisms for that as well, which I will cover in future content and when I discuss my graduate thesis, which I plan to do at some point. So I'm going to stop this here. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comment section below. Please like this video, please share, and please subscribe if you want to make a donation. Once again, my Cash App and my PayPal are in the description box below. I'm going to stop this here. And before I leave, I have to say, as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.